My name is Jonathan Ward. We're here in Los Angeles, California. I'm the lead designer and founder of the automotive brand called Icon. I think it was really in my blood. So I come from the Virginia area, Chesapeake, and my grandfather owned an old used car dealership and a Texaco station. By the time I came around, the station was shut down, but he still owned it. And in the back repair garage area, there were old Snap-on calendars and vintage tools and all the sights, sounds, and odors of classic cars. Over the years, I did it the right way. So concourse perfect down to repeating the overspray and imperfections of stock because that's what you're told to do. But then I realized when you're done, and I'd take it on that first drive, within 5 miles I was over it. I'm also a bit of an engineering geek, so I was like, it'd be really cool if we could combine the heart and soul of vintage automotive design, but with all of the perversions of modernity, both emissions and safety and creature comforts and Bluetooth and reverse cam and insulation. The first automotive brand we started was called TLC. And that was the official shift from hobby to, okay, quit my job. My wife quit her job and we started that brand. And that was just vintage Toyota Land Cruiser. And that brand's alive and well today, going on 30 years. It's relocated to North Carolina. And then after Toyota hired me to design and create the first 3 pre-production vehicles that became the FJ Cruiser, that kind of changed everything. Because I was already interested in emerging technologies that were coming around. Always been a fan of the custom coach builders of the golden age, but I was noticing they're all going out of business at a time when it seems like the perfect storm because all this new technology is coming that makes their business more viable than it's ever been. And I was like, well, it'll be cool. So started Icon, built the first Icon just with one employee in a little sequestered back area of the shop with big speakers. And we just kind of locked ourselves in the room. This is an old school Icon Bronco, specifically number 111. This one's on its way to Germany, yeah. We've probably only exported about 30 Icon. I mean, we don't have dealers or distributors, but people find out about them. It's funky, there's like one in Spain, one in Portugal, one in Greece, one in Italy, and they're like onesie twosies, except for the Middle East because four-wheel drives, especially the Land Cruiser, are so iconic there. We got a gaggle of them over there. So the old school design packages are really fun. By design, they're supposed to be like lighter, more retro and funky. And when it comes to color materials, this one's a really good example of how creative we can get there. So this really nifty, like 60s funky color. For the interior, I actually used high-end upholstery intended for outdoor furniture, luxury hotels. The durability and the design principles are so much better than automotive source. So this one's just super lively. We have power windows, but they look like manual. You just simply nudge down or nudge up to get power, but without some ugly plastic switch. Indirect LED mood lighting, 2 stages. Open the door full bright, at night doors shut, headlights on. Just a nice low kind of vibe light. This one's also a really good example of just when a client comes and sort of explains how they're going to use it, what emotions they want it to portray, or like what vibe and style, even down to like sometimes the playlist. So this is definitely like Bee Gees all day. But this one's a really good example of how we're able to integrate bespoke options on a standardized platform. Just makes me all warm and fuzzy, like to this day, and sometimes projects can take years. I mean, actually, for me, it's a design that's in my head. It's very mature before we ever pick up a tool. If it's for a client, we'll have those deep conversations of how you're gonna use it, what do you like, show me your house, do you collect any particular thing, and like make sure we integrate their style, lifestyle, locale, what have you. So I'll render it and we'll have the base CAD and everything done, but a lot of times, they can take thousands of hours, and we're managing about 40 builds at a time. So sometimes I get quite frustrated waiting for that first test drive. We just finished last week a vehicle, 1975 Jeep Cherokee, that's a one of one. And it took almost 6 years to finish. So I'm stoked because now I drove it home last night. It's a blast. But yeah, a lot of patience is required.
You're watching CARSTV.
My wife and I both quit our real jobs somewhat spontaneously on a trip in South Africa. It started a little bit before that because cars had always been a hobby, so it was always my poor neighbors, like 15, 20 cars parked on my little side street. So I only have a one-car garage to this day. Then went on vacation, and then my wife and I were like, well, we're in our 20s. We have no debt. Like, we're not very happy in our career paths. I'm like, well, you know, this Land Cruiser thing I've been doing, like, I think there's something there. So that's how it started. And then I have two sons, Nash and Quinn. One is getting his mechanical engineering degree right now. The other one is a design engineer, and he's our lead design engineer and runs our 3D print lab and takes all my crazy ideas and realizes them, and it's great. I mean, honestly, originally I didn't want my sons working with us because I think that whole nepotism, create monsters thing always scared me, but it's amazing. It's just been great. We just finished this. It's a 75 Jeep Cherokee, but then 79 fender flares, 65 front clip and dash. All this stuff that would have been 10 back in the 60s, it's now billet aluminum, added dimension and chrome, so much more solid. These from the factory were just a block-off plate. They did nothing. That's now the cold air intake feeding the best air source into the 500 horsepower SRT8 Hemi. Coming down the side, we took inspiration from the original badges, redesigned using the stock font icon, changed the displacement to 392 to reflect the modern power. As you come down the side, this starts as pure black, but then as it continues, it starts to do a slow inverse bleed, and you start to pick up the other tones in that safe flight Native American Cherokee tribal eagle. And that continues all the way down and ends at the rest of the belt line. Side badges would have been a Native American headdress sort of thing, but it wasn't right. So again, the native feather around the perimeter, the icon lizard design, sort of more like a mountainscape topography, so we kind of tweaked them. Moving on to the inside, I mean, there's so many layers of story to this thing, I don't even know where to start. Amp, research, powered steps, completely redesigned interior, Italian leather, American leather, Sheridan, Wyoming hand-tooled, custom beltline trim, again with the eagle feather motif. That continues all the way through the interior back to the cargo space. Hargarden wool rugs, Alcantara redesigned headliner. I could geek out for hours, but basically the dome lights, the sun visor mounts, the rear view mirror, the steering wheel, the quarter glass handles, the coat hooks, the seats, the seat badging, the pedals, every knob, every switch, every gauge, one of one just for this vehicle. We took the original steering wheel, too big, cool design, laser scanned it, machined it in aluminum, reduced the scale to be relevant with the modern steering systems we have. Same with the horn button, redesigned, added the chevrons, of course the icon lizard, he's always around. In-dash heat vent AC, high-end digital audio, navigation, but everything's hiding because you don't want to jump the shark. I'm so fascinated with design, and I have the skills to do so many things. Like at root, the concept of Icon is vintage transportation design revisited in a modern context. I'd like to apply that to architecture, to watches, to furniture. Like I'm fascinated with the old steel case and like Mackenzie desks you see in vintage movies and the police precincts. That's in every office here. But like, I want to revisit that tradition in a modern context. Dying to release new models. 2025 marks our 20th year, and every quarter we're going to drop a new surprise. So I'm stoked about that.
This has been a production of Allen Media Group.